This is the Everyday AI Show, the everyday podcast where we simplify AI and bring its power to your fingertips. Listen daily for practical advice to boost your career, business, and everyday life.
This podcast is supported by Google. Hey folks, Stephen Johnson here, co-founder of NotebookLM. As an author, I've always been obsessed with how software could help organize ideas and make connections. So we built NotebookLM as an AI-first tool for anyone trying to make sense of complex information. Upload your documents, and NotebookLM instantly becomes your personal expert, uncovering insights and helping you brainstorm. Try it at notebooklm.google.com.
One of the most underrated and underutilized AI tools keeps getting better and better. I'm talking about NotebookLM from Google. Long before you ever heard a NotebookLM ad on this podcast, we called it our 2024 AI Tool of the Year, and it keeps getting better and better. We've covered a couple episodes over the last couple of months, but I think this last round of updates that just came out are worth your attention. So much so, we are dedicating an entire episode to go over the new features in NotebookLM, what's potentially next, and since it's been a while, we're going to do a complete walkthrough. It is putting AI to work on Wednesdays, and this is Everyday AI. What's going on, y'all? My name is Jordan Wilson, and welcome to Everyday AI. This is your daily live stream podcast and free daily newsletter helping everyday business leaders like you and me not just keep up with AI developments, because there's a ton, but how we can actually make sense of them and use them to grow our companies and careers. If that's you, it starts here with the unedited, unscripted live stream podcast. If you want to take it to the next level, go to our website at youreverydayai.com. Sign up for the free daily newsletter. We're going to be recapping the highlights and what you really need to know from today's show and all the AI news so you can stay on top of your game. All right, let's get straight into it. October, new updates, NotebookLM, tons happening, and a lot more on the horizon. So let's go over what we're going to go over. We're going to quickly recap what's new in NotebookLM with their customized features that I think make it truly personalized in the same way that you might think of GPTs for ChatGPT. This is kind of like a slimmed down version of that, but I think it's really important and really expands NotebookLM's usefulness. Next, we're going to preview what's confirmed coming next from NotebookLM, whether that's in a couple of days or a couple of months. And since it's been a while, I'm going to do a complete but very quick walkthrough of the entire platform. That's, I think, going to be really helpful for beginners. But like I said, there's been some huge updates in the last couple of weeks, a couple of rounds. So even if you're using NotebookLM, I don't know, once or twice a week, I think you're still going to get a ton of value out of today's show. And stick around to the end. I've got about, 20 or 30 of these kind of bonus guides over the last 3 years. And this one, y'all, is by far the best. Put together a NotebookLM cookbook and some recipes, use cases, and just some really exploratory guide on NotebookLM. We have sections for beginners, intermediate, and advanced. You are literally not going to want to miss it. And well, you all voted for this show, FYI. So it just so happened, we have NotebookLM ads, but this is not, technically an advertised segment. You all voted for this. I've shown it on my screen for the podcast listeners. I said, hey, on Wednesdays, we do putting AI to work on Wednesdays. You all said you wanted to go over NotebookLM's custom features. So here's what's new in the October 2025 updates, and NotebookLM has been shipping like crazy the last few months. The biggest one is the ability to customize the response length and tone in the chat response. And you might be wondering, what's the big deal about that? Well, let's be real. Up until this, NotebookLM was a little dry in its responses. And I think that's okay. But I think as we've come, and when I say we, just collective, everyday professionals, as we start to use large language models like Gemini, ChatGPT, Copilot, and Claude more and more, I think we become accustomed to them becoming more personalized and more customizable. And unfortunately, NotebookLM didn't really have that capabilities. So a lot of times, I might have wanted something short, and, I maybe would want a pointed response, or, a no nonsense response. And I might be staring at a huge wall of text that's overly verbose, right? So this is great to say, hey, this is how I want NotebookLM to respond. And then also having default for links, huge. The new learning guide style as well. And we're going to be going over these live in a couple of minutes, and that essentially tests your knowledge. So very cool. Gemini and ChatGPT have come out with these learning modes. So it's kind of similar to that. I think NotebookLM by far is the best tool to just learn something. And that's because it's grounded. And I'll tell you what that means here in a second. And then another small new thing is to discover new sources. There is a Google Drive integration. That's a small little footnote here, but the big update here this month in NotebookLM is the ability for it to respond in a custom way. And it's actually a big update in my opinion. And I love the new learning guide style as well. So enough. Let's jump in live. I'm going to show you first those couple of new updates. And let me preface this by telling everyone about NotebookLM. So if you've never heard of it, it is much different than your average AI chatbot, right? It's technically powered by Gemini 2.5 Flash, which is a hybrid model. So sometimes it might give you a quick response. Sometimes it'll think and kind of plan things step by step. Other times, it's just going to be quick, right? So it is a hybrid model, which is great. The other big thing to know is it is grounded. And what I mean by that, I'm sharing this on my screen now. And if you want to see the video version of this, it's not going to be overly visual, but it might be helpful. The video version is always on our website for free at youreverydayai.com. Click on episodes. All right. So make sure you go check today's out if you're listening on the podcast and you want to see all this. But what it means by NotebookLM being grounded is it means it only works with your source material. So when you go into NotebookLM, and there's a free version and a paid version, the paid version just essentially gets you better limits, but the free version is actually really good. All you need is a Gmail account. Essentially, it doesn't hallucinate because when you go and you click a new notebook, you can't even start quote unquote chatting with NotebookLM. You first have to upload your source material. If I'm being honest, I wish all large language models had a little toggle at the top that you could just go into like a NotebookLM or a grounded mode. Even when you're using things like custom GPTs or projects in ChatGPT, Gems and Gemini, projects in Claude, right? You think, oh, I'm going to upload just my documents, and in the custom instructions, I'm going to tell the model only use my documents. Doesn't work that way. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. That's where NotebookLM shines. And that's one of the reasons, aside from the very viral, AI podcast, right? That's, I think, what kind of shown a lot of attention on NotebookLM in the earlier days. But I think the fact that it's grounded is the biggest thing. So, if you upload a bunch of information about, a random example I always throw out there, if you work in logistics and you're in marketing and you're putting a bunch of new white papers in there, and then you're asking it, hey, what's the weather in Chicago next week? Or who won the 2016 MLB World Series? It'll say, I have no clue, right? Whereas if you ask Gemini or ChatGPT or any other model, it will obviously tell you that because it's in its training data. So NotebookLM is grounded. It only works on the source information that you input. So let's just do a very quick demo. I opened a new notebook here in NotebookLM. And all I'm going to do, I'm going to jump over to our website. I'm going to go grab yesterday's episode. And I'm just going to copy and paste. So I'll get more into how all this works later. All right. And I'm just going to paste in the transcript from yesterday's episode where we went over Dev Day updates from OpenAI. All right. Pretty simple. So now let me show you the what's new in the in how you can customize the response and why it's super helpful. All right. So now in the middle pane, all I'm going to say is recap this episode, right? Very simple. And by default, it's going to take a while because it was a pretty long episode. It was about 40 minutes long. There was a ton of information on that page. So it's taking here, you can see, actually not too long. Took about 10 or 15 seconds. And I got a very in-depth recap here. And if you are watching the video version of this, you'll see one of the special things about NotebookLM is it cites and it gives you a footnote to every single thing it tells you. So if you have a bunch of different sources, it'll tell you that. More here in a second. Let's get to what's new. So if you go into the middle pane, which is the chat pane, all right, there's 3 panes. The middle pane is the chat pane. And there's a little toggle there that says configure notebook. All right, if you click on that, here's what's new. So you didn't really have any way to customize NotebookLM's response before. So you kind of always got an overly wordy, usually very dry, but always factual response. That's not for everyone. Sometimes you need a large language model to kind of adapt to how you want to learn. So you can choose the conversational style and the response length. So I'm going to go to custom first. All right. I should have typed this out before so I could copy and paste it. So I'm going to say be direct, as short as possible, a little humorous.
This podcast is supported by Google. Hey folks, Steven Johnson here, co-founder of NotebookLM. As an author, I've always been obsessed with how software could help organize ideas and make connections. So we built NotebookLM as an AI-first tool for anyone trying to make sense of complex information. Upload your documents, and NotebookLM instantly becomes your personal expert, uncovering insights and helping you brainstorm. Try it at notebooklm.google.com.
And Kurt, I'm going to say, don't waste words. All right. Be direct AF. All right. There we go. And then for response length, I'm going to choose shorter. So one thing that I hope NotebookLM builds into the future, and I'll reach out to some of my friends there, is to be able to save these, right? This is just a very quick example. I've made some of these where I build them. I really take my time and do a little testing to get it exactly how I want it. I wish you could save them. You can't do that right now. Maybe in the future, you will be able to. All right. Just did some misspellings there. And then I'm going to save. All right. So now the other thing is you also don't know that you are chatting with that persona, if that makes sense. All right. So now I'm just going to go in. I'm going to click. I'm going to go ahead and refresh this chat. All right. I'm going to double check. There's my custom conversational style, and then I chose shorter for the length. And now I'm going to say the same thing. I'm just going to say recap this episode, and we'll see here. It's going to be very short. Hopefully, maybe a little humorous, kind of curt, so almost to the point of it, being rude. But yeah, right away, it is about a fourth of the length, which I love, right? And I like, for the most part, large language model responses to be straight to the point. I don't need fluff. I'm busy. I'm in large language models, depending on the day, 2 to 12 hours, right? I don't like staring at a wall of text. And I also want the model to respond in a way that is, that I'm receptive to, right? It's like choosing, right, how someone communicates to you. It's like, what if you could go talk to your boss and be like, hey, boss, I want, you to always tell me basketball references, throw in a funny rhyme once in a while, and always be optimistic, right? I mean, you can do anything with this new custom response. So very cool. So I'm looking through here. I'm going to see if it actually did anything funny. So it said OpenAI dropped the agent builder part of Agent Kit, a visual drag and drop that allows non-developers to create and deploy AI workflows. All right. So pretty good. It's talking about the, how ChatGPT is trying to be your new operating system. So I don't see anything necessarily funny. I'll have to read through this a little bit more, but it is to the point. All right. I kind of see a couple of things. It's starting to, throw in a little bit of humor here, but great response. And you might be thinking like, okay, what's the big deal? If you've used NotebookLM heavily like me, this is a big deal, because like I said, one of the downsides to NotebookLM is the response lengths were just so super long. All right, let me show you the two other new things. So one is when you add sources on the left-hand side, and you go to discover sources. Now you can find and discover sources from your Google Drive. So small little thing, but you can just search in natural language and it'll actually pull those things from your Google Drive. There's other places where you can add Google Drive. That's just a small one. All right, let's do the next one. So I'm going to go ahead and refresh the chat history here in the middle. Again, the only source information I have here is my podcast transcript from yesterday. Now I'm going to go to the configure chat and I'm going to go to learning guide. All right, and I'm going to keep it shorter. So now I'm going to do the same thing and I'm going to say recap this episode. And you'll see here, this is where you can see NotebookLM is a true learning powerhouse. All right. So, okay, interesting. So it did something different this time. It actually did a pretty in-depth recap here. I'm actually going to do a hard refresh. And I'm going to try this one more time. I'm going to make sure that I have the learning guide. I'm going to put the response on default just to say. So I'm going to say recap this episode, and we'll see if that happens again. It gave me a much longer recap than I would have thought. Here we go. The second time, it kind of worked. I think maybe I just had to do a refresh. I think it was still pulling from my custom instructions. Could have been a caching issue. So here we go. This is the new learning guide conversational style, which I really like. I just said recap this episode. NotebookLM responds back. That's a great request. This episode covers a lot of ground. And then it said, before we dive in, how much do you know about OpenAI's Dev Day announcements? And what is your high-level goal for reviewing this material? Are you focused on the business implications, the technical updates, or something else? Y'all, this is like prompt engineering 101, but spit back at you by the large language model, right? Going through and iterating and really turning AI into a thought partner. Here, it forces you to do that. And again, you might not think, right? By using the custom tone, you might not think to put all of these things in here. That's why I love this new option for the learning guide, because it forces you to think, okay, well, what do I actually want out of this? Put it through a different perspective. Think of that one thing that you're trying to learn. Let's say there's a huge new product line that one of your competitors is putting out. They have a big, PR push around it. They have videos, press releases, blogs. They're doing interviews, all this information, and all your customers are saying, hey, why aren't you putting out product X like your competitor? And you need to really know it. You need to understand it. And you need to tell your current clients or current customers that, hey, ours is still better for this reason, right? So think you have all this information as your sources, and then you can use NotebookLM to work with it. And you can keep going in and you can do a learning guide to actually learn a little bit more first about what your competitor is putting out there. And then you can do the same thing and chat with the custom version as well. All right, so that is a very quick overview of what's new. Now, let's get back and talk about some other updates. So if you haven't tuned in recently, we're not going to go over all of these individually, but I will quickly show you them as we do a complete walkthrough of NotebookLM. So in September 2025 was probably the biggest month of updates for NotebookLM. So here's what came out in September 2025. They came out with custom reports. I'm going to show you all of these things where you can control the structure, tone, language. It has dynamic templates, really, really good. There's now flashcards and quizzes that were released in September, where you can get instant feedback from your sources, have to really learn them. And then new audio overview formats. So this is one of those things that originally made NotebookLM go boom, was the kind of deep dive AI podcast host, right? You could upload hundreds of pages of documents, click one button, and you get these two very human sounding AIs that kind of riff on your content and create a personalized podcast for you. So they came out with the new formats. So the brief, the critique, the debate, and then the deep dive, as well as the customizable length and tone, which I really love. And I did go over that much more in depth on episode 608. So if you want to know more about that, go listen to that episode. Then in July, there was a ton of updates as well. The biggest one was video overviews. I have no clue how this technology even exists. And I did a whole episode on that, so you can go back and watch it. But same thing. Upload any of your source materials the same way you can just click a button and get an audio overview. Well, you can get a video overview as well. And the videos are actually really good. All right. Especially for the first iteration of a product. A lot of times the first iteration of a new feature that's technically groundbreaking is absolutely terrible. The video overviews from NotebookLM was one of those moments where my jaw hit the floor. And I'm like, how is this possible? Right. So the video overviews came out in July, a new refreshed studio UI, which I'll show you when we do our full walkthrough, multi-version creation. So essentially you can create multiple versions of that, where before you can only create one, and then multitasking. So even when you're watching or listening to the audio overview, you can continue to work or chat inside of NotebookLM. All right. And if you want to know more on that, go listen to episode 578. Covered it all in depth. All right, before we go any further, it just so happens a word from our partners, which is NotebookLM.
This podcast is supported by Google. Hey folks, Stephen Johnson here, co-founder of NotebookLM. As an author, I've always been obsessed with how software could help organize ideas and make connections. So we built NotebookLM as an AI-first tool for anyone trying to make sense of complex information. Upload your documents, and NotebookLM instantly becomes your personal expert, uncovering insights and helping you brainstorm. Try it at notebooklm.google.com.
Y'all, I swear it wasn't planned. I asked you all in the newsletter, what do you want for the AI at work on Wednesdays? And you said NotebookLM. All right, just putting that out there. So I told you some of the recent, including the October updates, the September updates, and the July updates. But what's next? What's coming around the corner? So there's been a lot of kind of confirmed leaks, and NotebookLM itself, at least online, has kind of hinted at what's next. So let me tell you what is coming next in NotebookLM. Don't have dates on anything yet, but one feature that I'm really looking forward to is an integration with Google's Nano Banana, the AI image generator. So there will be an infographic feature that uses Google's extremely powerful, the best AI image model in the world, Nano Banana. I'm looking forward to that. Chat history will soon have the option to be saved by default, which is nice. I'll kind of show you kind of how that works. Like I said, NotebookLM, a little different than your Gemini ChatGPTs of the world. Nano Banana visuals are going to be coming to video overviews soon. Not like the visuals in there are bad. They're not. They're pretty good. They're actually well designed. I like the bright popping colors, but apparently they're going to be getting even better. And at some point, hopefully soon, there will be an API for NotebookLM. And at that point, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're trying to start a side hustle, when NotebookLM comes out, my gosh, what you can create and to sell to people, it's going to be absolutely bonkers. All right, so let's now do a quick walkthrough. I'm putting myself on the clock here. A lot of you are saying, hey, the episodes are a little too long, or hey, Jordan, I'm on the treadmill. I can't do 45 minutes every day. All right. So we're going to try to go a little quick here in NotebookLM. I'm going to do a complete walkthrough from the beginning. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going back, sharing my screen, live stream audience. Let me know. Hopefully you can see it there. All right. So when you are in NotebookLM, you're going to click Create New Notebook. So like I said, NotebookLM is grounded. It only works with your data. Okay. And there's different ways that you can upload your sources. All right. And then your sources are going to go on the left-hand side. You can click Discover Sources and you can just type in anything, right? So I can just type in LLM News, click Submit, and it's going to search. Oops, I should probably click the actual button there, and then it's going to search on the web, and then I can choose sources one by one to bring into my notebook. All right. It's taking a quick second here. I can select them all. I can just select one. Here we go. I'll just select this random one right there and click Import. All right, so that is how you can discover sources. You can also add them by uploading them. It supports PDF, text, Markdown, and audio. Yeah, you can upload in MP3 and it's going to automatically transcribe it and you can talk to it. Y'all, for someone like me, a podcast host, that's amazing, right? To be able to talk to my entire catalog of episodes, it feels illegal. That's why, I mean, one of the many reasons why NotebookLM was our tool of the year in 2024. All right, you can also click to connect your Google Drive. You can select certain folders. You can bring in links to a website, links to a YouTube video, or you can copy and paste text. So that's the different ways that you can bring in different sources. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to paste text here just so I can have two different things. I'm going to paste in what I pasted in earlier, which is the transcript of the Dev Day episode that we did yesterday. So now I have two different sources. Okay. And hopefully, even if you're listening on the podcast, hopefully this can make sense. The panes are important. Okay. There's essentially three panes or three different areas inside of NotebookLM. And the cool thing is you can adjust them. So you can collapse the source panel to give more room to the chat. You can also collapse the studio panel on the right-hand side. So if you want a little bit more room, the middle pane is the chat pane. And that's where you do, a lot of your work. So in that instance, you are talking to Gemini 2.5 Flash. All right, but only to the data that you upload. And you can upload a ton of sources. I'm on a paid plan and I can upload 300 sources. I did the math on this. I forgot, but it's something like 60 million words or something like that. It's absolutely bonkers. Check the newsletter. I'm going to go fact check myself, but it's just a ridiculous amount of content that you can put in there. All right. So before we go on anymore, just think of that. Just think of that. Think of maybe how much time you spent using other large language models, because all the other ones work the same. And I said, even if you're using projects, GPTs, gems, etc., and you upload your files, none of them have this kind of upload limits. And also, even if you tell them in the custom instructions, hey, only look at my files, don't look at anything else, it's not reliable. Oftentimes, it still will look at its own training data, or it will browse the web even when you don't want it to. So right there, just think of the huge advantage that you have in NotebookLM, that you can only bring in your company's data, something that you're trying to learn, a hobby, a passion project, a side hustle, whatever. This is your partner that is essentially, it's not 100% hallucination free, but it is essentially hallucination free and always cited. So when you have, 50 different sources on the left-hand side and you're asking a question of the model in the middle, it is going to cite, and you can click on it and see the exact, not just the source that it came from, but the exact spot in this, in that source. So talk about one of the biggest downsides of large language models in general. Well, they're kind of a black box, right? And there's not always a lot of trust or transparency. And NotebookLM, I think, flips that script on its head. All right, so now we've got essentially the two main panels. So we have the sources on the left. You can add, you can discover, and then you also have the chat in the middle, and then the new updates that I just went over. That's the configure section in the chat where you can go do the learning guide or the custom, and then set the default length to default, or choose the response, set the response length to default, longer or shorter. And then there's some little shortcuts at the bottom of the chat window, but those are technically just shortcuts to the studio. Okay. So the studio panel on the right-hand side is actually pretty amazing. All right. So that's where you kind of get the audio overview. And I'll just go ahead and I'm going to click an audio overview so you can see kind of the options here. Because I think this is a big reason why many people started using NotebookLM in the first place, because it's really not just a cool piece of technology. I'll actually say it's a transformational piece of technology. It's changed how I personally learn. I prepare for most of my podcasts with NotebookLM. If I'm trying to learn something about a guest, I don't want to, when a new feature comes out, I don't want to have 100 tabs open. It's hard. It's distracting. I love using NotebookLM to not just learn in a personalized way, but to also interact because you can, in these customized audio overviews, you have the deep dive, the brief, the critique, the debate, but you can also make them interactive. So I'm just going to do the brief. You can do custom instructions, all that thing, but I'm just going to click generate. All right. I'm not sure if I'm going to do this little tutorial long enough, but I'm going to go ahead and click the same thing for video overview. So we'll give it a couple of minutes. Like I said, I don't want the episode to run too long, but let's see what else we have in the studio. So in the studio on the right-hand pane, it's just different types of multimedia that can personalize your learning. Because if you're like me, I hate learning from big blocks of text. That's not how I do it, right? I love learning by listening, by seeing, by understanding visuals, but by actually interacting with it, right? It's actually hard for me, which maybe is not good for me as a human being. It's actually hard for me to now learn at the level that I know I'm capable, learn a new subject, learn about a person, a new skill set. It's hard for me now to do it with just text. And I think, yes, online has changed, right? The internet has changed. So much of what we see online now is video or interactive media. But I actually think NotebookLM might be to blame in a good way for that. I've become very accustomed to learning new things, specifically from the audio overviews and the video overviews. Also, you have a mind map. So I'm just going to go ahead and click and generate that. So now on the right-hand side for our live stream audience, you see that it's actually generating in the studio. It's generating 3 things at once. It's generating the mind map, it's generating the audio overview, and the video overview as well. Like I said, I went over these in much more detail. Recently, you also have the reports. The reports are great. These are essentially, they're saved as notes, okay? So you have these default kind of docs that it will create for you. All right, so a briefing doc, a study guide, a blog post, case study, key concepts, investment memo, or strategic analysis. And actually the suggested format, so those last 4 I read, those are dynamically created based on the source material that you upload. All right, so those are just simple reports. Maybe I'll just generate a briefing doc. Then you have the flashcards. I'm just overloading. I'm going to crash NotebookLM here, trying to do all these things on the live stream. What could go wrong? Well, none of them could work. And then I'm going to do a quiz. All right, so I'm technically generating now 6 different things in the studio all at once. It's just based on these 2 random sources. So hopefully it wouldn't take too long. All right, the good thing is well, we have the mind map done. So I can click on the mind map. Very cool. And it's also interactive. So it broke out kind of these 2 unrelated sources, right? One was about large language model news. The other one was about OpenAI's Dev Day. So they're kind of related, but kind of not. And it did a pretty good job of breaking this into a mind map. And then I can click on these and it's putting out more and more kind of nodes or modules. So now I'm like 4 layers deep. And then the cool thing is you can actually click on these and then have a conversation with that module as well. All right, let's go back to the studio. That's the mind map. Really cool. The quiz is done. It's giving me a quiz. Just like that, according to the LLM Market Landscape 2025 report, what is Anthropic's key competitive strategy? Oh, I didn't read that. I can guess. Let's see. I'm going to guess C, positioning its models around a constitutional AI methodology and a safety-first narrative. That seems very much like Anthropic. There we go. I got it right, even though I didn't read the source material. So there you go. It's creating a quiz, and then it's going to give you feedback. So if you get it right or if you get it wrong, the quiz gives you feedback as well. That's the quiz module. Briefing document, straightforward, right? It just, these are just kind of, think of them as prepackaged templates for different types of reports that you can do based on your sources. And you can see how this is actually extremely useful, especially if you have multimedia sources, if you have MP3s, if you have YouTube videos, if you have PDFs, if you have, web pages, to be able to bring all of this into a standardized and templatized report is actually huge. All right, let's see what else we have done here. Then we have the flashcards. Flashcards, cool. They're just kind of visual flashcards, right? There's a front and a back. You read the front. So it says, according to the 2025 market analysis, what percentage of consumer chatbot market does OpenAI consistently hold? All right. I think it's in the mid 70%. Depends on how old this analysis is. The last one I saw was in the mid 70s. Oh, wait, I have to click see answer. There we go. Yes, I got it right. 74%. This maybe means I spend too much time that a report that I hadn't read, I'm guessing things right. All right. Those are the flashcards, front and back, old school. Y'all, I loved flashcards back. I was a geek. Yes. When I had free time, I did math flashcards. I memorized, everything at a young age, right? Okay. So the cool thing is we also have our
This is the brief
overview
on the rapidly evolving
hopefully
LLM
you can hear
market
this.
and OpenAI's latest strategic moves. So there's new analysis out, right? It shows a super competitive landscape and transformative new tools taking large language models, LLMs, the tech behind.
So there you go. We don't need to play the whole thing, but that was the brief. So that one is very short. I chose that one so it would generate a little more quickly. If you do the deep dive, there's also this interactive feature where you can join the conversation, which I do all the time. Sometimes if I'm out taking a walk, I have NotebookLM on my phone and I'll just ask questions. So of the two hosts in the deep dive, I'm listening. If I don't understand something or if I want something rephrased in a different way, you can literally just join, quote unquote, join the conversation. It's like you're calling into a talk show, and then you can ask questions and they'll answer it based on the source materials. All right. So it looks like the only thing that we didn't get generated in time, which is fine, the video overview, but we've done shows on that before. All right. So there you go. That is NotebookLM in a nutshell. You add your sources on the left side. It's grounded. So when you chat with it in the middle pane, it's only going to pull answers from your sources. It's going to give you citations that you can click on and see the exact spot that it's pulling that information from to increase trust and transparency. And then in the middle as well, in the chat, right now, it doesn't save anything. So any response that comes, you can click save to note, and then that note will be sent over to the studio. So keep that in mind. That feature is rolling out soon where it's going to save kind of your chat history. But for now, once you kind of refresh or leave the page, it's going to be gone. So if you're working in the middle pane and you get a lot of useful information, make sure to click save to note to save the note. So that is the middle. And then the new updates that we went over, being able to configure and customize the conversational style and the response length. All right. And then on the right-hand side, that's the studio. That's the multimedia, the audio, the video, the mind map, the reports, the flashcards, the quiz, and any notes you save are all over there on the right side. So that is NotebookLM in a nutshell. Fast and furious, complete walkthrough with all of the new features and content. So I hope this was helpful, y'all. We went over what's new, reportedly what's next, and gave you a complete walkthrough. So whether you're a beginner or an expert, I hope that you gained some value from today. And well, you probably just regardless should go repost this show on LinkedIn. So if you are listening on the podcast, check the show notes. I always put a link to this specific LinkedIn post, all right, where we put our live stream version of the podcast. So go repost this and I'm going to share. I put together this resource. I spent a ton of time on it and it is absolutely bonkers good. I put together a lot of these guides when I have so much extra information and I'm like, I can't make this a 5-hour podcast. What am I going to do with all this research? What am I going to do with all these high quality materials? I can't put it in the newsletter either. I'm not going to make you read an 800-page newsletter. So this NotebookLM cookbook, it is great. Different use cases across different industry, all the different features in the utility, taking full advantage of NotebookLM for everyday business leaders. Go repost this show. I'll send it to you, in the DMs on LinkedIn. It's amazing. Make sure you go do it. And then when you're done with that, if you haven't already, make sure you go to youreverydayai.com, sign up for the free daily newsletter. We'll see you back tomorrow and every day for more Everyday AI. Thanks, y'all.
This podcast is supported by Google. Hey folks, Stephen Johnson here, co-founder of NotebookLM. As an author, I've always been obsessed with how software could help organize ideas and make connections. So we built NotebookLM as an AI-first tool for anyone trying to make sense of complex information. Upload your documents, and NotebookLM instantly becomes your personal expert, uncovering insights and helping you brainstorm. Try it at notebooklm.google.com.
And that's a wrap for today's edition of Everyday AI. Thanks for joining us. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and leave us a rating. It helps keep us going. For a little more AI magic, visit youreverydayai.com and sign up to our daily newsletter so you don't get left behind. Go break some barriers, and we'll see you next time.